Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session. My name is Amy Hinojosa, and I'm the President and CEO of MANA, a National Latina organization, and I serve as the Vice Chair for the ACER Board of Directors. We are very excited for this discussion featuring representatives from several well-renowned and leading Hispanic employee resource groups. Each of these ERGs is doing phenomenal things, not only in the communities in which they're embedded, but also within their companies. And today's discussion will highlight some of those things and how these companies are leveraging their ERGs to align with their business strategies. Before we get into the discussion, I want to remind you to download our event app and use it to check out the upcoming sessions, learn more about our speakers and sponsors, receive important announcements, and engage with your peers through the community feature. If you need assistance with the app, please stop by the help desk to download the instructions. Also, don't forget to visit our sponsor booths and the ACER Research Institute booth in the exhibit hall. There's a lot of great information available to you at the click of your mouse. Now, without further ado, I would like to get this conversation started by welcoming our moderator for today's discussion, Dr. Robert Rodriguez, President of DRR Advisors, LLC, a consulting firm helping companies with their diversity strategy, Latino talent, and employee resource group initiatives, and author of Latino Talent, Effective Strategies to Recruit, Retain, and Develop Hispanic Professionals, and Auténtico, the definitive guide to Latino career success. Robert, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Amy, and very excited to be back partnering with ACER, a great organization that I've had the privilege of being a part of their events for the past several years, and it's always a treat. I'm thrilled I got a chance to help facilitate this panel. So today, we're going to be talking about aligning inclusion with business strategy through our employee resource group. So, we are all experiencing a lot of things right now with the pandemic, economic kind of impact, as well as racial tensions, and many companies are really leveraging on their employee resource groups to help not only drive the diversity strategy, but make sure that they're also helping to maintain a focus on business. So our goal today is to make this a very informative session. We plan to share some best practices through these great organizations, highlight some very practical tips. But ultimately, the goal of our discussion today is to really provide you with information that will help you elevate the impact and effectiveness of your employee resource groups. These groups are way too important, and this work is, the need is too great not to get this right. So, so I'm excited that you'll be able to join us here today for the next 40 minutes or so, and we're going to hear some great dialogue. So join me today are three amazing panelists. We have Sigal Cordeiro from General Motors. She's going to be here, join us. In a second, I ask her to introduce herself. We have Patty Juarez from Wells Fargo, another great organization, very strong employee resource groups, as well as Maureen Sanchez from Johnson & Johnson. So these three amazing, talented ladies are going to share with us not only just a quick overview about themselves and their career, but they're also going to talk about the great work that their employee resource groups do. So Sigal, want to get us started?
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Sigal Cordeiro. I'm with General Motors. My day job at GM is being the Executive Director of Sales and Marketing for the Global Innovation Organization at GM. But I'm also President of the Latino ERG.
Excellent. Thank you, Sigal. How about Patty?
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Patty Juarez from Wells Fargo Bank. My day job there is I'm the National Diverse Segments Director. I lead all the work around women-owned businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses, and all other minority-owned businesses. I've been with the bank 25 years, and this past year had the pleasure of being selected as the Enterprise President for Latin Connection, our employee resource group within Wells Fargo that represents over 48,000 Latinos at our company.
Perfect. Thank you, Patty. And Maureen.
Hi, I'm Maureen Sanchez, and I'm with Johnson & Johnson. Been 25 years in the industry, was 21 years in the pharmaceutical industry, and now 5 years in Johnson & Johnson. I'm the Vice President of Supply Chain for one of the segments in medical devices, the endosurgery business, and have the privilege also to co-share the HOLA, the Hispanic and Latino for Leadership and Achievement ERG within J&J.
Thank you, Maureen. Perfect. Well, let's get right into it. Patty, maybe we'll start with you. You mentioned a little bit about your Latino employee resource groups. Can you tell us a little bit kind of what your main goals and initiatives, maybe your pillars for your employee resource group, and then real briefly, how well are they doing right now with everything going on?
Sure. Well, I think, for us, the main pillars are to be a provider of resources and support for our 50 chapters across the country. Our main role as the enterprise president and my board is to support the work that they do. And then another pillar for us is to work on intersectionality with other ERGs. So we work very closely with there's 9 other ERGs in our company. We work very closely with them to seek points of intersection that we can explore collectively. And so we will have events with our Veterans Network. Obviously, there's a lot of Latino veterans. We will have events with our Women's Network as one of the fastest growing segments in the universe, our Latina-owned businesses. And so we will work with them. MyGen is another one that we work very closely with, as 65% of our members are millennials of our ERG of Latin Connection. And then the third pillar of our strategy is to elevate the Hispanic agenda within the senior leadership roles of the company. So it's always to ensure that they have front and center the priority of making sure that our Latino team members have opportunities to grow and develop within the company and be represented.
So it sounds like your ERG not only is a mechanism to groom future Hispanic talent, but also an entity with 50 chapters that attracts existing Hispanic leaders as well.
Correct, absolutely.
Gracias. So yeah, same thing at kind of General Motors, similar pillars, kind of, and how are your ERG, how's the Latino ERG doing right now?
We have 3 pillars that we focus on. The 3 pillars that we have are aligned to the 3 big priorities strategic priorities for General Motors, which are customers, relationships, and excellence. And so the way we translated them into our ERG from a customer standpoint is to become strong GM ambassadors and ambassadors of our products and our brands. From a relationship standpoint is to help build the Latino community within GM and help support the Latino community outside of GM through volunteer activities. And then from an excellence standpoint, our pillar is talent, and it includes from hiring, so from attracting to developing to retaining. So those are the 3 pillars that we have at our ERG at GM.
Perfect, thank you. And they're all very important, but I love how you highlighted the community outreach, right? As you know, the community is very strong in our in our Hispanic kind of group, and I love the fact that the group is kind of focused on that. Thank you for sharing that. Maureen, how about Johnson & Johnson? Your pillars as well as how you're doing now.
So yeah, we have 4 main pillars in Johnson & Johnson, and perhaps let me start with the mission and the vision, right? We are intended to leverage the Hispanic and the Latino talent that's committed not only to the employees, but also to the communities that we serve. When we talk about the 4 pillars, our culture and inclusion, our business, our talent, and our community impact. From our membership perspective, we have 33 chapters, about 1,400 members already in the ERG, and we have about 15 plus Latin American nationalities enrolled into the OLA ERG.
Excellent. And Maureen, what's your nationality? May I ask all the panelists? What's yours?
Because of the accent, Puerto Rico.
No. Puerto Rico. Patty?
Born and raised in Mexico.
Okay, bueno, perfect. So yeah.
Brazil.
Brazil, excellent. Well, yes, Mexicano, born and raised in, or born in Texas. Parents are from Mexico, so I figured we could let the session go without that. So excellent. So you each talked about your pillars. I love how for all of you have a very holistic value proposition, right? As some of you may know, in the past, some of these employee resource groups were seen as the food, flag, and fun folks, right? Very kind of social nature, which is important. But I liked how you each find that, hey, no, we're playing a role in, yeah, of course we want to have fun, but we're also playing a role in our talent initiatives, our company initiatives, our community outreach. We're helping to elevate the cultural competency within the organization. That's all great. I'm wondering, anyone can answer this one. Maybe Maureen, we'll start with you. You know, one of the things that folks are always asking about are kind of the metrics that we use to, you know, how do we as an ERG identify that we're making an impact? Can you share any metrics that your kind of, you know, ERG leverages at Johnson & Johnson to kind of demonstrate the impact and the progress that your ERG has?
Yeah, I would say there's several metrics. Some of them are very US centric in terms of presence versus market availability. And there are others in terms of the impact and how do we really go after underserved communities, as well as talent that we bring and so on and so forth. So I'll be careful because the metrics are not necessarily metrics in terms of that we can share right now, but we do monitor, if you will, the talent that we have, at how many levels do we have presence based on the availability of the market. We also then measure the impact to the communities, as I mentioned before. And perhaps one of the areas that we're getting further into is the advocacy for participation in clinical trials. So the OLA ERG has been very active in that particular aspect. Now with COVID-19, before with the different medicines that we produce in Johnson & Johnson, are we really going through the community that those medicines will impact into?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more? How is the ERG doing that? Are they out volunteering? Are they getting the word out? Are they promoting information? Can you highlight a little bit of how that's operationalized?
Sure, all of the above, I would say, right? So we're definitely providing education and to the different segments that we serve, but we're using data and analytics to understand what is that population that we will be serving to our medicines, and are we reaching those populations? The other thing that we're doing in addition of data and analytics, OLA has a big network. And with the support of Unides US and different organizations that we partner with, we want to make sure that we tackle those organizations or those areas that have most contact with those unserved communities. So it's a combination of education, activating our network, activating our resources, as well as our employees to the areas that we serve.
Perfect. Thank you very much. How about General Motors? Anything with your metrics, Sigal?
Yeah, I think you know, similarly, there are metrics at a higher level of the business in terms of Latino representation that we look at. In addition to that, we have one very specific metric that we look across the board, across the entire population of employees, which is workplace engagement, employee engagement. So we always look, as soon as those results come out, we take a look at how we're doing from a Latino population versus other populations. And then I think importantly for us also is to look at participation at ERG events. We want to make sure that from an ERG perspective, we're delivering content that is really relevant for our members. And so we're constantly looking at participation, for example, in our mentoring program. Are we growing that base of mentees and mentors? Whenever we do webinars, are we growing the participation of people actually joining? And so that's more at a tactical level. Volunteer hours is another metric. So at a tactical level, we have some. And then we also have, at a business level, some more strategic metrics.
Sure. Well, I love that because, to have a effective metrics and measurement strategy, you need metrics that capture your activity, right? You need metrics that help you tell your story, right? You need metrics that maybe establish a baseline and then track your progress. And I love what you said is that some of your metrics look at different stakeholders. So what may be important to one group may not be as important to another. So you have different metrics that address that. Thank you very much. Patty at Wells Fargo, same thing, kind of, do you have a metrics measurement strategy?
Well, I love metrics. I love data. I do use it a lot to present our position and our case with senior leadership at Wells Fargo. We keep track of, obviously, Latino representation at all levels of the company. We also keep track of our volunteerism, and our chapter logs over 5,000 hours, volunteer hours a year, and our members really support the communities that they serve and that they live in. So we do have a positive impact in the community. We also work tirelessly to improve, obviously, the numbers year over year. So we do trending and we track progress. We want to see, obviously, Latinos more represented at the upper levels of the company. We also support our employees with development plans, our content. We do surveys from our members to understand what their priorities are, the things that they're getting out of becoming members and being members of Latin Connection, the things they would like to see. So we're constantly kind of checking temperature, understanding where they need more support. Typically, obviously, we serve as a great engagement and networking platform for our members. And so it's very common that our Latin Connection members get promoted at faster rate than non-members because of the networks that they build within the company. We are one of the largest ERGs at Wells Fargo, so we have 50 chapters, as I mentioned earlier, and so there are over 500 leadership opportunities for our team members within those chapters. And so we also keep track of, obviously, the representation and the leadership of our members within the ERG confines.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Patty. So Patty, now let's get to the point where let's keep it real, right? So tell us what has happened now, and Patty, we'll stay with you with the Latino ERG now that everything's happening, right? You have COVID, economic pandemic, racial tensions. What sort of impact has that had on the ERG? Are you seeing any, a narrowing of focus? Has retention in the ERG been an issue at all? Just where are you at today?
Yeah, obviously we've all pivoted, right? We would have never been able to predict the circumstances that we find ourselves in with this convergence of the pandemic, with the social injustice issues that we're having, and also the economic recession. And these things have impacted Latinos disproportionately. So our ERG has absolutely pivoted to focus on our members. We have hosted calls on emotional well-being, balancing life and work. We have employee assistance counselors ready to talk to those in need. We have waived copays for anybody needing medical attention because of COVID. We have worked on with our teammates in need to provide short-term grants for basic needs like groceries or rent. And we have, I think, also hosted just recently a webinar on financial instability and all of that. That's basically been the result of COVID. COVID has led not just this emotional and financial instability that has impacted Latinos, but those that are impacted are our own friends, our own family members, our friends, our colleagues, our community members, and even ourselves at times, right? So we have been rendered motionless with this pandemic, crushed by the pressure of the last 6 months. But what have we done? We have fought back. As always, our spirit as Latinos of perseverance has risen. We're fighters, and we work on helping each other out. And so we not only have we helped ourselves come out of these issues, but we help those around us, and we frankly help our communities that are in deep need.
I love that. You're definitely stepping up to the challenge. Maureen, same question for you. It's not business as usual, right? No. So how has that impacted the ERG?
Yeah, no, you're right. And one of the things that we did in the ERG was to create what we call a 90 days plan. COVID has been longer than 90 days for sure, but that helped us on reprioritizing, right? How do we really focus on the new ways of working? How do we keep the engagement? So I would put it in two fronts, right? Our members, their safety, their engagement, their development, and how do we continue to serve our community and manage our and serve the culture, right? Or foster the culture that we're at. So from an employee's perspective, several things have happened. The first one is, how do we create a sense of community to our members, to their families, within the new reality that they're working? And we launched a program, which was a pilot program, that it's called Girls with Impact. That was focused on the daughters of our members. And it was intending to enabling girls to develop skills, prepare for college during the time. We did it all virtual. We started with the idea of enrolling 35 girls. We ended up enrolling 105, and they go through mentorship through their high school, and as they engage into understanding what they want to do to college, and that was absolutely well accepted to our members. We expanded the mentoring circles, so we engaged more vice presidents to follow up on the talent, to really make sure that they have someone that they can go to and get mentoring programs or mentoring assistance during COVID-19. And I think one thing similar to what Patty mentioned is the mental health of our employees. We continue hosting mental health series where the employees share their challenges and experiences with other employees. And then as OLA members, this is perhaps a funny thing, we're starting with virtual singing lessons as a way for some employees to see music as a stress reliever, if you will. So trying to find new ways of doing things virtually and still keep people engaged. From a community perspective, as I mentioned before, we continue to partner with Unidos US. So we've been more engaged into webinars, the impact to the Latino communities, how do we, basically the ERG has been reshaping and reprioritizing to attend the COVID-19 needs. And then I would say we started the COVID-19 pandemic virtual, refocusing with signing what we call the Hispanic Promise. And so we engage with all Human Foundation, and we basically perpetuate our commitment through the signature of the Hispanic Promise. That was the first thing that we did that basically triggered many other activities in J&J.
Yeah, no, my company, DR Advisor, we signed the Hispanic Promise. I'm a big fan of Claudia, and We Are All Human in the Hispanic Star campaign. So I'm glad that you're supporting it as well. You know, so yeah, love to ask you a little bit about the allyship, your Latino ERG, particularly now, you know, with all the emphasis, and well, not all the emphasis, but an increased focus on the Black Lives Matter and our African-American Black colleagues. Can you share anything that your ERG has done to really kind of convey that allyship and the support for their community? Because we can't have equality for all if we don't have equality for our Black community. Anything you can share?
Yeah, I would say that one of the biggest things that has happened recently for us at GM is the ERGs are coming together like never before. And collaborating a lot more to support each other. And so we're having a lot more cross-ERG events and initiatives. And of course, one of the big focus is with the African-American ERG. And so as one example, in our Austin chapter, we actually conducted joint focus groups to really listen to the employees, to our African-American and to our Latino employees about how they are feeling in these times. And took that, those were very, very open, very difficult conversations many times, but very much welcomed. And so we took that to leadership, and we're now putting it into an action plan. You know, I think Maureen, you mentioned mental health. So for example, all the ERGs are coming together for a big mental health event at the end of the year. We are sensitive to the fact that different groups might be feeling things differently and experiencing things differently. So we will still cater to different groups, certain topics, but mental health is something that is affecting all of us. And so why not come together and show our support? And I think that this is one of the best things we can do from an allyship perspective, because we don't want the ERGs to be a sign of exclusiveness, right? We don't want people to feel like there's a group just of Latinos, a group just of African Americans, right? No, we are here because we all believe in diversity, diversity of thought, and diversity in general. And so coming together specifically in these times and showing the strength of coming together and inclusivity, I think is very powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Patty, maybe can you build on that? You know, I love this idea of attracting allies, right? And you know, you don't have to be to belong, right? So you don't have to be a Latino to belong to the Hispanic ERG or any group. How well has your Latino ERG done at Wells Fargo as far as attracting non-Hispanics to not only become members, but to be actively involved?
Well, I'm happy to report, Dr. Rodriguez, we seek allies constantly at Latin Connection. We have an ally ambassador. So we have a target list of names of high-level leaders in the company that we seek out, frankly, and we share our story of Latin Connection and the impact Latinos are having at Wells Fargo, and we ask for their support. We need their support. We need the support of the leaders. Senior leadership involvement, to me, is key to reinforcing the company's commitment to supporting ERGs and all the employees across the spectrum of, you know, any diversity dimension, frankly. And so we explore also allyship with our other members of ERGs through, you know, again, these points of intersection that we all have together. But I think having allies has done a couple of things. First of all, it has allowed us to share our platform with non-Latinos in the company and to share all the great work that we're doing. And many times just inform them of how large of a population we are within the company. Many times they don't really have an understanding of the metrics. But also share the positive work that we're doing, not only as it aligns with our business strategies at the bank, but also on our retention, on our recruitment, you know, all the things that we're doing as a company to continue to attract Latino talent. I mean, we truly believe that as you look into the future and given current demographics, our pipeline looks increasingly Latino. And so we have to be very strategic and very focused in being able to attract talent. And so we need all the allies that we can have at the bank and at the organization. So we're very proactive about seeking those relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, without a doubt, not only is the Latino community a catalyst for economic growth, where, you know, the workforce of the future is going to have an increasingly Latino identity, right? So, you know, we need those allies because the issues and challenges being faced by the Latino community can't be solved just by the Latino community, right? We need those allies. Yeah, Marina, I'm going to go to you. Maybe you can offer some advice to some of our fellow Latino ERG leaders in particular. You know, some of them, I've spoken to several of them who've said, Robert, we love the fact that the Black Lives Matter, Black African American community is getting a lot of attention, get a lot of resources, but how do we kind of try to further elevate attention to the Latino community without it sounding as anti-Black, so to speak? Any advice you would have for folks who maybe feel that they're in that conundrum?
Yeah, and I would say similar to what Sigal and Patty mentioned, right? At the end of the day, we want to make sure ERGs are just a representation of a community, but they don't become exclusive communities, right? Or no inclusive communities, if you will. So we have within J&J basically united all the ERGs. It was unfortunately triggered by the Black Lives Matters movement and the different incidents that we've seen of racism and social injustice. But we came together as Johnson & Johnson diversity group, if you will, or as the ERGs. And I think from an advice perspective, that was how do we see ourselves in the shoes of people being discriminated by being part of the community that at some point in life was discriminated one way or another has been key. So uniting our ERGs, I think we have 9 fully recognized, but about 19 ERG groups within J&J. We became as one. We basically send one message against racism, and social injustice. Our CEO step up and says we're gonna support, is committed to $10 million to fighting injustice in America. He's supporting the Museum of African American. But in addition to that, it's open microphone sessions have been key. As leaders, individual leaders, we basically held sessions. How are you feeling? What discrimination looks like for you? What social injustice looks like for you? And I think one of the more powerful communication tools or engagement tools is our own leaders telling their story. And our own leaders telling the story about how they grew up. And we have people that came from favelas in Brazil and are today plant managers, senior directors, and whatnot. We have people that grew up in very underserved communities, and they have been able to step up and show that it can be done. But I would say if there's one advice, it would be similar to what Patty and Sigal from an ocean perspective are portraying is, at some point we're all being discriminated one way or another. How do we ensure that that message is portrayed and everybody's heard in their own circumstance? And as leaders, leading by example will be the first step.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think it does any good to say, who's been oppressed the most or who's suffered the most. That's just like comparing wounds, right? And that doesn't advance the needle. But what I think I heard you saying then is, we want to, of course, sustain that attention on the Black Lives Matter, but maybe replicate some of that attention in the Latino community with the hope that, with that focus and attention between the Black and Latino community, we can scale that attention to all historically underrepresented groups. I think that's a smart approach. Sigal, tell me something. When you run into other Latino, Latina, Hispanic, Latinx professionals at the organization, and they know about the Latino ERG, but they don't wish to get involved or they don't want to join, what are some of the typical reasons or rationale that some of them say for not wanting to join?
I would say there are some people, and I think it's the minority, but there are some people that don't feel, again, they have this notion that by being a part of an ERG, they're not being inclusive. They're excluding people. And so that's one group of people. I would say that the majority, to be honest, are people who don't understand what the benefits are. And until they actually experience it, they don't fully understand what they're missing. They're too busy. We're all busy, exactly. But because they haven't experienced it, they don't fully understand what they're missing. And so I do think that there is a big role for ERG members and leadership to really share with people everything that is involved and all the benefits that come from not only being members, but honestly engaging. Because the opportunity that you have to grow the network, the opportunity that you have to meet not just professionally other people, but personally and make friends, the opportunity to take on some leadership roles that maybe in your day job, you don't have that opportunity. And then just the content that is shared. And again, we're all striving to create content that's relevant. There's really no reason why not to join. And I've also, just from an engagement standpoint and how much people engage, I always tell them that they can engage as much as they want, right? For some people, they will want to engage a lot and they're going to get a certain level of benefit from that. And some people won't, and that's okay. They'll get, what they want out of it. But the one thing that I always tell people, because this is a volunteer work, right? And so what I always tell people is the more of us are volunteering, the less there is for each one of us to do. So I invite people to join us because there is a wide range of things that we can use help with. And so I think there is some education that needs to happen with the people who feel hesitant about joining and being a part of the ERG.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think ERGs, if leveraged properly, can definitely expand one's visibility, their capability, maybe even their promotability. But you have to be involved, right? You can't just be one of those ERG members that comes to all the meetings, eats all the food, but then when you need volunteers, they don't raise their hand, right? You have to kind of, you get out of it sometimes what you put in for it. Patty, tell me something else. Similar question, but I know in the past, sometimes you'll approach Latino employees at a company about the ERG, and they'll say, well, I don't want to be labeled, or I don't want to call a lot of attention to my Hispanic ethnicity. Do you have a discussion with them? Do you tell them how the Latino ERG at Wells Fargo can talk about this issue of Latino identity in the workplace?
Absolutely. I mean, I think for me, it's all about representing the benefits that our platform provide our members. And they're not only where we come and have a place where we can share our culture and our experiences, and we celebrate those things together. But it's also a place where you can come and network and grow your network within the company, get to know other lines of business within the company, expand your horizon, so that from a career development standpoint, you're playing your cards right. And as I mentioned at the top of the call, our members get promoted more readily and quicker than non-members because of that investment. And so I try to focus on the positives and the things that are being brought to them by the ERG and what can they get out of it personally. But always, when it comes to culture, some of us wear it very proudly and on a sleeve, and we, celebrate who we are, and we're very outspoken about it. And some people like to do that a little more privately, and I respect everybody's choices. I think that we come together as an ERG not only to try and provide opportunities for our employees to grow and develop, but also to serve our community. And that's always kind of a shared vision, that people want to help the communities that we live in. And so with us providing over 5,000 hours of community service a year, there's plenty of opportunities for our members to also have a positive impact in their community, maybe help an organization that they're on the board of, right? Maybe there's ways in which we can team up to assist them. And so there's just there's so many positives that, it really tends to outweigh any reservation or negatives that people may feel.
Yeah, I love that. A quick story, because I know our time's running up. I shared with you I was born in Texas, but I grew up in Minnesota, which does not have a very large Latino population, right? So early on in high school, college, and in my professional career, I struggled a bit with my sense of identity. And fortunately for me, some of my earlier employers, Target Corporation and 3M, had Latino employee resource groups, and they helped me find my voice, the ability to connect with other Latinos who are unapologetically Latino, right? And to see them celebrate the richness of our heritage, of our culture, made it easier for me to understand, hey, I should be leaning into this, not trying to downplay it. So I definitely see the career aspects like were described, but also just kind of that personal, help me kind of connect on a personal level of how much I want to identify with my Hispanic ethnicity. All right, so we have about 5 minutes left. So I'll give you each kind of a chance to kind of share any kind of closing thoughts or words of wisdoms to our ERG leaders out there, whether they're the Latino ERG or not, of what they should maybe try to do as we wrap up 2020 going into 2021. So Maureen, why don't we start with you? Closing thoughts, comments?
Sure, no, thank you. And I would say numbers matter, Robert. And if we think about the Latino population will represent 30% of the total population in the US by 2050. There are disproportional disadvantage, right, in the ability for the Latino community to really get educated and get promoted. We have gaps in digital and automation from an experience perspective. So as a company, it starts at the top. It really starts by us understanding what the needs of our customers, patients, doctors, and nurses are in terms of the capabilities that we need to have ready for the future. The talent is key, the diversity of our workforce is key. So I would encourage any senior leader in the organization to ensure that what our people does with so much passion has a purpose. And that's what the ERG brings to the equation. The purpose and the visibility of the needs of what we need to do from a talent, from a capabilities, from an engagement, and from a community perspective, that as a company we can sponsor. So I'm very fortunate to lead the OLA ERG. It's impressive, the network that I've been able to create, but it's more impressive to see the 130,000 members of Johnson & Johnson being able to be supported by what they represent and being able to belong one way or another through an ERG and through the community that we serve.
Absolutely, yeah, and you guys have a long-standing history of excellence. I know I had the privilege of giving the OLA group at J&J the Latino ERG of the Year award a few years ago at the Hispanic Latino Corporate Challenge. So I'm glad to see you're keeping up the great work. And yeah, absolutely agree that the more we align our initiatives with talent management, any ERG, the better. So thank you for that, Maureen. Sigal, any kind of closing thoughts, words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think what I would say is these are very difficult times, right? Strange and difficult times for everyone. But at the same time, it gives us an amazing opportunity to share our story and bring even more visibility to the Latino community. I'm betting that in every company, all the efforts around diversity, equity, and inclusion are heightened and are being accelerated. Certainly at General Motors, they are. And that brings an opportunity for ERGs, including the Latino ERG, to do even more. And so take that opportunity. Let's look at what's good about what's happening in front of us, and let's make the best out of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love what you shared earlier about measuring your engagement level of your ERG members and leaders. That, you know, it seems like if they're involved in the ERG, their engagement's higher. And right now, with everything we're experiencing, that employee engagement is very critical. So thank you for that. Patty, closing thoughts, words of wisdom.
Well, I'd say that I would speak to every CEO and tell them to support their ERGs. I actually sit down with our CEO tomorrow for a Q&A of all things Latino at Wells Fargo for the kickoff of Hispanic Heritage Month, the first time we ever have that opportunity, and I'm very excited about that. Our ERG serves not only as a source of talent, and we all know that diverse companies that have diverse minds at the table outperform their peers by a wide margin. So our ERG serves as a source of talent. Our ERG also supports our marketplace outcomes, right? Our business outcomes, and help shape that Latino strategy. Our ERG invests in relevant research that supports the fact that Latinos are a critically important cohort that contributes tremendously to not only to our company, but to our economy as a whole. And so I just couldn't be prouder of Latin Connection and the work that we do. And I would just say that it is very important for every CEO, and also, by the way, that engagement and the retention that it also helps a company achieve by having folks feel like they're part of a familia, like they're part of something, is incredible. So I would just tell companies, support your ERGs, help them grow. I mean, we all do this on a volunteer basis, so it's a second job that we all love and are very proud to have. But it's important that leadership at the top sets the tone. And just the fact that I'm going to be able to have this sit-down conversation with our CEO tomorrow really, to me, says a lot about his commitment. He has each member of his operating committee supporting one of the 10 ERGs. And so that is where the rubber meets the road. And, you know, it's not only do you need to talk the talk, but walk the walk and support them as much as you can, because they're great for the organization.
Absolutely, yeah, and I hope every organization has the same level of executive support as your three organizations do. So thank you to the three of you. Like Patty said, I know you do this above and beyond your 80-hour-a-week day job. So I thank you for your leadership, for your advocacy, for your willingness to step up and raise your hand and help kind of lead these Latino ERGs as they look to make an impact. Yeah, on the behalf of ASER, I'd love to thank all of you again for taking the time to join us today. Hopefully you found that these three ladies shared with you some very inclusive thoughts regarding how to elevate your inclusion strategies with your business strategy through their examples of their employee resource groups. Yeah, the work that these ERGs do is too important, and the need is too great not to get this right. So thanks to all of you. We're going to turn it over back to Amy here, who's going to help us wrap up. I just wanted to say thanks one more time. Job well done.
Well, thank you, Robert, and thank you again to our panelists, Maureen, Patty, and Sigal, for your time and willingness to share how your companies really are leveraging your Hispanic ERGs for success. And thank you for joining us for this session today. But before you move on to the next session on the agenda, please stay tuned for a few words from our sponsor.
Thanks, Amy. The work that we do at HISAIR would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. Our sponsors provide the support necessary to help us achieve our mission. They are crucial in every sense of the word to what we do here at HISAIR. Please enjoy this video from this year's symposium sponsor, Nationwide.
Since 1926, Nationwide has been on your side.
We've been there in person during trying times.
Today, being on your side means staying home.
Nationwide Office of Customer Advocacy.
Nationwide. But we can still support you and the heroes who are with you.
We're giving refunds on auto insurance premiums.
Assisting customers with financial hardships.
And our foundation is contributing millions of dollars to charities helping with COVID-19 relief.
Keeping our promise to be on your side.
Thank you, Nationwide, for your continued support. And thank you for joining us today for aligning inclusion with business strategy through ERGs. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. I know I did. Please join us for the next session, Influencing the Corporate Culture for Hispanics, starting at 1 p.m. Please feel free to visit the Nationwide booth or the booths of one of our other great sponsors in the exhibit hall during the next networking break. See you soon.